the NOCCA Foundation, as well as the Maione Prima Foundation, our fiscal sponsor, to bring you these afternoon concerts. This afternoon, we're going to have a Q&A with one of our NOCCA alum, mixed with some music as well. And we're going to go over a little bit of the history of NOCCA, some fantastic things about music, this wonderful partnership with the Jazz Museum. This year, NOCCA is celebrating its 50th anniversary. The first class to graduate from NOCCA was in 1975. So just last week, we had our 50th class to graduate, the class of 2025. So without further ado, let me introduce to you our very special guest this afternoon, Mr. Chris Severin.
Thank you. All right. NOCCA was a thought from a guy named Alvin Batiste. Everybody should be familiar with him. He was very instrumental in developing young people in music. Not only jazz, but being able to be a skilled instrumentalist. I met him when I was 14 years old. My band teacher, whose name was Alvin Thomas, introduced me to Alvin Batiste as a young person. And that was the beginning of the wheels turning at NOCCA. We had a group called the Adolescents that Alvin developed. It was all like junior high school students. I happened to be a part of it. That was before NOCCA. That was the whole concept that was being developed at that time. And then came NOCCA. And when that happened, Alvin Batiste decided he was going to stay at Southern University. He had children that were in the university, so I guess that was his reason for continuing his education on a college level. There was a teacher that took the job. His name was Dr. Bert Bro. The first concept and the first building for NOCCA was on UNO's campus.
Oh, wait, bring us back to that. What year are we talking?
We're
UNO's
talking,
campus?
the first part of it was in 1974.
Mm-hmm.
The concept was happening in 73 with the group called Adolescents. Matter of fact, Alvin Batiste was so into the young people that we did our first gig in Galveston. We had a chance to get on an airplane as a musician. That was one exciting thing, right? I mean,
Right.
you're going to play for people in other places. So that kind of sparked everybody's interest and energy. Then the UNO thing came about. I remember when it was introduced to our high school. There was Shirley Trusty. I can't remember all of the people that came by.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that got everybody's attention was the fact that you would leave school after lunch. We didn't know what we were getting into, right? But when I heard that, I raised my hand. I would like to be a part of it, right? And a lot of students got into NOCCA based on that. And we found out that there was something really happening at NOCCA. There was a lot of development. You were around a lot of people who wanted to do what you wanted to do, and on a higher level.
Right.
And there was instruction there to lead you in the direction you wanted to go in. So after that experience, we got our own building on Perrier Street. That was another exciting part of NOCCA because it was just everybody who was a part of that school, not college. You know, we were around college students when we first got there. It was a little different, you know, the age barrier and, you know, the thought process, I'll put it that way.
Well, if I could pause for a second. So NOCCA, the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts, is an art conservatory high school, which means is you do not take electives as you would at a traditional school. So most of us that attended high school, we took what, PE, foreign language, home ec, what some other electives. We're NOCCA kids, so we can't say what the electives were. But if you attended NOCCA between 1974 and 10 years ago, 2015, you would have a home school where you have your math, science, English core classes, and then at lunch like he mentioned. You would leave and you'd come to NOCCA, and you would receive your elective credits in one of the art departments. The original departments were music,
Right.
creative writing,
Right.
drama,
Drama was definitely one of them.
dance,
Dance.
visual arts.
Visual arts. Yeah.
There we go. So there was only 5 departments when we first started the school. Eventually, it evolved, and over the years, now that we've been a school for 50 years, there are 11 departments. They've added media arts, culinary arts, and again, what other city would have food as an art form other than New Orleans? How many visitors do we have in the audience with us? I'm sure you've been eating. Can you imagine that some of the chefs probably studied and will study at NOCCA? So culinary arts, media arts, entertainment production design is a new department. That's basically everything that happens behind the scenes. They do costume, lighting, makeup, set design, and they work with all the productions for producing the student shows on campus, as well as, am I missing a department? There's 11 of them.
You know, I'll put it this way. First of all, I thought most of you guys were from the area, so that's why I didn't go into the detail about what NOCCA was, and I thought y'all knew that it was an arts high school, so I apologize for that.
That's why I'm here.
But when you're in the jazz department, and that's for most of the jazz departments, once you get to school, you never leave that area because you need time to study what you had the previous day. You know, music is, it's repetition. So we never really, I know I never leave the department. Once I go upstairs, you won't see me until it's time to leave because there's so much for us to do in terms of trying to cover the material, present the material, assist the students with the material that you're presenting. It's a lot of work, but because it's something that you like to do and you do it all the time, it don't feel like work. But when you think about it, we never really leave the department because we don't have time. So for us in the jazz department, it's always been that way. You know, we see the classical students, but we don't get out of our area as much. So there's a lot of things that we don't get a chance to see. So when she's asking me about different departments, I know they exist.
Right.
But we're never there, you know.
Tell us what it's like being one of the first beginning classes of NOCCA from the 70s, specifically the second class to graduate.
Well, it was a brand new thing. So a lot of the guys who were there at the time that I was there, they were young, talented musicians. Everybody was playing in bands, playing R&B music, dance music, before we realized that jazz was also dance music. And if you can't make people dance, then something might be a little wrong with the music. Right. I mean, I'm just being honest. You have to feel it. You have to enjoy it. It has to make your body move. And if that's not in any music, I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but it should have some kind of emotional value involved in the music. In jazz, when we went there, we realized that. That's why we kind of grew into trying to develop to be that kind of musician also. But all music should have some energy that creates an emotional value inside of you in some way. Anybody can read notes off of a sheet of paper if you're taught. It's like alphabets. You get alphabets, you put them together, they make words, right? It's the same way with music. So, but anybody can learn that. But the artists is the guys who really make the music.
Do you want to play something that lets us know who influenced you or any of your mentors over the course of being a student? With any musicians that may have inspired you or family members that played music or some foundational connection to music before NOCCA and even after NOCCA?
Well, my dad was a drummer, and he also was a very good dancer. He used to say things all the time. He talked about tap dance and the independence. Of course, you know, you don't listen to your parents at that point in your life. You know, it's like, well, he don't know what he's talking about. But we would watch TV shows, and he would say all the time to me, see that guy there? That guy can dance. And I used to say, man, you don't even know this man.
Yeah.
How you know he can dance? But what he said, he can tell by the independence that he had behind the drum kit. All of the limbs were independent. So it started making me think about these things, you know, and start to listen to the things that he had to say. Because I was in a funk band, right? I remember him being in the jazz band with the tuxedo and the bow tie and all the whole thing.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
a whole lot of people. We used to actually, it was 9 of us, so we used to help my dad bring his equipment downstairs. Everybody would take a piece. By the time he was dressed to leave, you know, everything was in the car. It was enough of us to move everything. But he specifically talked about, you know, the way the music, what it would do to people. Dance, you know, the way it made him feel. And that was my first instruction, I guess I could say.
Right.
Then later, my older brother became a drummer. Then my other brother, Gerald, who was under him, he became a drummer.
Oh, how did you pick up the bass? Help us out
to
here.
it. I'm getting to it. Then my other brother, Vernon, was a drummer. There was just drums at the house.
Right.
So I played drums. But then I saw Elvis Presley on TV. I noticed I could only see one hand moving, right? I said, oh, I want to play guitar based on that. And, you know, my folks, I guess my mom, I would think she was tired of hearing drums.
Ooh.
I would think so, you know. So they bought me a guitar. And then I realized there was more to it than that one hand.
All right.
My older sister married a bass player. Okay, so that's when the bass came into my life. So his name was Fred Tuckerson. He passed, but he was instrumental in getting me started on the bass. He and my older brother was in a band together. Then my older sister, she married a singer. So what I'm saying is the music was all around us. I didn't know that I was going to be a musician. Music chose me, you know, so I went with it.
So having a foundation of that many musicians, and then you find yourself as a teenager or an adolescent playing the guitar and the bass. When you were in NOCCA, maybe first year, second year, what musicians started to inspire you there to really hone in on a deeper talent? Because you do have to audition to get into NOCCA, so he clearly was very talented in order to get into the school. Once you were there, what musicians started to inspire you to work more on your craft?
Okay, then after Dr. Bro, he moved to the classical department. Then Ellis Marcellus came into play.
Nice.
So now this is a whole new thing. You know, he introduced us, you know, like I said, we were like in the Earth, Wind and Fire, Ohio Players. You know, that's where we were, you know. Yeah. Oh, no, not at all. But all of these guys were jazz musicians. Maurice White and Ellis Marcellus was friends. Maurice White was playing with, what's the pianist? Somebody?
Say it louder.
No, but he was in Chicago. Ramsey Lewis is who I was trying to think of.
Okay.
Ellis Marcellus was playing with Al Hurt, you know, and they were all jazz musicians. And I think the reason that we gravitated to that music so much was because of all of the substance that was in it. Also, the Ohio Players, believe it or not, there were jazz musicians in that band. But, you know, jazz wasn't, I guess it wasn't a money-making thing like they wanted to make, the kind of money that they wanted to make. So they moved to other things and started developing this music. and it became very successful. And then Ellis Marsalis introduced us to the blues. And this is what I'm going to play for you right now. He always told us you had to know the melody. You had to know the chords. And here we go with the groove again. And the groove was the quarter notes on the bass, which is really not quarter notes, it's triplets. That's the value of a quarter note, and you'll feel that in the playing. I thought I saw Mike Polera in the house. Where is he? Okay, I'd like Mike to come up and assist me with this blues.
Wonderful. Put your hands together. This is Michael Polera, who is the former jazz department chair. He's been teaching here in New Orleans over the course of 35 years between Loyola University and NOCCA. And he has been instrumental in the jazz department. So we've got some more guests that are just sliding by because I have a microphone. Adonis Rose, who is our current executive director of the NOCCA Foundation and class of 1992 from NOCCA. We've already mentioned Chris Severin, who is class of 1976, and Michael Polera, who is not from New Orleans, but has been connected to NOCCA as well as the arts and music education scene for over 30 years and was at NOCCA for many years. 20. Well, I'm going to step to the side and let these gentlemen give you a little treat. Let me know if you need me back.
Hello, how you guys doing? Thank you for being here at the NOCCA Foundation series. Chris Severin is actually my uncle. So my dad, Vernon Severin, and Chris Severin are brothers. So I actually learned a whole lot about music from my uncle, actually before I got to NOCCA, because I've been playing all my life, pretty much. But my uncle has been instrumental in my career. He was the person for me that made me confident that I could be a professional musician because he was doing it every day, all day. So I would see him come home. We actually lived next door to each other. We lived at the bottom, and him and his family lived at the top. We lived in a double house. But my uncle traveled with Diane Reeves for a long time. How many years? 12 years. In between that, he played with Dr. John, Alan Toussaint, and a whole lot of other people. But I remember seeing him come in and out with his bass case, his suitcase, you know, all of his gear, to his studio in the backyard to practice and work on music even when he was not on the road. But that was important for me in my development because a lot of times you have young people who want to be artists, but they're not quite sure how to break into the business. And I might have been 12 or 13 at the time. Again, this was before I attended NOCCA. But even at that time, you know, my dad was playing part-time, but my uncle was doing this full-time. So I would like to personally thank him right now for all that he's done for me in my career. So I actually just texted Mike Polera about 5 minutes ago and said, Mike, get over here. We need you to play with us. And Mike came and showed up. Mike Polera has been teaching at NOCCA for over 20 years, helping to produce and cultivate young artists throughout the years. You know, John Baptiste, Trombone Shorty, Sullivan Fortner, and myself. I didn't work with him, under him at NOCCA, but I've been playing with him for many years also. He used to kick my butt. We used to play at the Windsor Court. He was at the Polo Lounge for a long time, playing there, and I cut my teeth with Mike many nights, and even though I was really sad and couldn't play, he still hired me. So thank you, Mike. I want to thank you for that. But let's give it up again one more time for Mr. Mike Polera.
One more thing I'd like to say. And I said that's another drummer that came from my family. It just skipped over me. All right. But I'm glad that happened because the drums fell in the hands of a great person.
Thank you, Uncle.
All right. That was straight, no chaser. Sunrise. I forgot the artist, the writer of this piece.
Hammerstein's in there. Oscar Hammerstein is part of it.
Okay.
He's in there.
Yeah, I knew it was two guys involved.
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember
He's a
the two.
lyricist.
All right, let me say one more thing. We talked about melody. We talked about harmony. We talked about the groove. And it appeared to me, looking out, that the things that we discussed earlier about the substance of the music and the feeling of the music, I think it came across pretty well because I saw you guys responding to it. Hello? All right. So that's one of the reasons I spoke about that, because that's very important. If what we're talking about up here or communicating doesn't come across to you, it really don't make any sense to have an audience, right? We're playing for ourselves. I mean, we do some of that too, but we try to make sure that whatever it is we're playing, that message can be conveyed to you all. We're going to try that one more time, and then if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Wow, that was fantastic. Okay, wait, listen. I guess for the time of purposes of time, I guess maybe just two questions. One, what has NOCCA meant to you after all these years from student to alum to professional musician and now teacher?
NOCCA has shaped my musical ability and personality, not only from a R&B musician, but to a jazz musician, and to look at music as one entity, because it's all the same notes. It's just a matter of what you decide to do with it, and all of those concepts came by way of studies at NOCCA, because I was introduced to a lot of things that just being in my R&B community, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. So it means everything to me, and it means everything to me to give back my experience to the students that I come in contact with, and also to make sure that they believe what they're doing and believe in what they're doing. Because how can I convince you if I'm not sure about me? I know about me, and the ideas that I have about music, I want to present them to you. And that's what NOCCA did for me.
That's nice. And in conclusion, in the honor of our 50th anniversary, as the Director of Alumni Relations and all of us that are connected to NOCCA, what legacy would you like to leave upon NOCCA that springboards us into the next 50, and as well as the music of New Orleans culture?
Well, I think the students are receiving that already, by way of study and hard work. You can see the proof. It's everywhere. It's on television. It's on the streets. It's on this stage. And I got to give it up to Mike Polera. He's really responsible for a lot of music that's coming out of the school. I mean, for me personally, I learned a lot of music from him, and we on the staff together, but he offers so much to the school. It's going to be sad when he's gone, to lose somebody like that. He's
not going anywhere, man.
He almost killed you off to lose you. No. But he is upon retirement. So we want to celebrate him and thank you for all of your information and sharing your stories. Adonis, thank you for coming and joining us this afternoon. And thank everyone that's here with us, whether you're in person or watching us online. The NOCCA Foundation is very excited for this partnership with the New Orleans Jazz Museum, and we're very grateful for our fiscal sponsors, the Maione Prima Foundation. So if you want to support art education and believe in what arts education can do for our young individuals, feel free to visit the NOCCAfoundation.org. Support us online. If you're local, come to some of our events, and maybe we'll see you at the next one. You want to close us out with something? Put them on the spot. Why not?
Well, I would like to do this before we close. I love audience participation, so I would like for you guys to have the opportunity to ask us some questions. So I would say maybe just few questions. There are always people in the audience that would like to ask questions. So, yeah.
I just wanted to, and that's not to put Notre Dame in any way whatsoever. I was just wondering, my kids went to a school in New York called LaGuardia High School for the Performing Arts that was, immortalized with fame and all that. Did that enter at all into the creation? Like, was that an inspiration in creating NOCCA?
Absolutely.
Cool, I thought
We had our founder of the school attend a ceremony, award ceremony yesterday after school, and before that, she was at our gala this past weekend. But she spoke to that. She spoke to the fact that there were a few schools around the country that focused on arts education, and she wanted to bring the same thing here to the New Orleans community. And I think LaGuardia School of the Arts is one of the schools. I've been there and had the opportunity to go and perform for the kids and do some teaching over there. So it's a great school. I know LaGuardia was one of those schools. I'm not sure if the Duke Ellington School of the Arts was around then, but I do know that a few schools away from New Orleans inspired her to start NOCCA. Yeah.
And the current director, Kevin Blanc, did he teach your kids, or were you there before that?
I can't remember because, and also I think because New York is more of a theater town and New
Yeah.
Orleans more of a music town.
Yeah.
And so it was more.
You didn't know the jazz people?
Theater, and my kids were in fine arts, so they may or may
Yeah.
not have.
Well, he's the current jazz director,
Yeah,
and he
they
went to
can't have
NOCCA.
anything
He
to
went to
do with
NOCCA
jazz,
during
so-
Harry Connick's time. They were good friends.
It's entirely possible.
So yeah, they have a NOCCA alum running their department over there now. So we're happy to hear that.
Awesome.
Okay, I want to know if I know your brothers are drummers, but who's better? Because he's pretty darn good. That's your that's your nephew, and your brothers are all drummers. But he's good.
I think he's the best. I think he's the best.
If my dad was here, he would say something differently, but.
We have another question.
Hi, well, you are all amazing performers, so thank you so much. But I have a question for you, sir. You said you went from the guitar to this huge instrument, which in my head looks way more difficult than a guitar.
Well,
why?
the guitar had way more strings, right? And the job was a completely different job. Now I play a 7-string bass, which is more strings than a guitar. I left the guitar alone, but this instrument, it's the grandfather of it all. If you're gonna be a bass player, even if you don't want to do, I quit this instrument for a while, and when I was in college, because I was on the electric bass, and that's all I wanted to do. I thought. But I realized there's so much involved in learning this instrument, and it's so beneficial to the others that you have to, even if you don't want to do it from a professional perspective, you have to investigate this instrument.
Thank you.
I just wanted to leave you on a giggle. I had read that Eric Dolphy, the sax player,
Yeah.
started as a drummer, but then at the end of every gig, all of his bandmates were gone with the pretty girls, and he was still packing the drums, and that's why he switched.
Hey, what are you trying to say about drummers?
We have 2 more questions on this side of the room.
Thank you. This is for you, Chris. With which instrument did you audition with when you auditioned for your
I auditioned on the electric bass, and when I got to NOCCA, I was drafted. I couldn't see it then, but they made us play upright. The teachers say you have to do this, and I'm glad that I did, because I got a chance to, like I said, learn a whole lot about the other instrument based on this one.
Hi. I was wondering, both as music educators and as people who attended a conservatory, how do you make sure kids stay in love with music?
Wait, I didn't understand that.
How they stay?
How do you make sure kids stay in love with music?
Stay in love with music.
Well, I don't think that's our responsibility to make sure that they're still in love with it. Because most of the people that we get, it's like I said, like for me, I was drafted. I didn't know I was in love with music, right? So I think there's something that they feel naturally, and you don't have to make sure of that. You know, once they see that how much work it takes to be good, and you see all of these people around you that's functioning and doing great things, it's not that hard to encourage somebody who like it already. You know, they start looking at benefits and everything that comes from it, and I think I think all musicians already love music. The ones that you see that still survive whatever it is that we have to survive as musicians, I think it's just in you. I hope I answered your question.
Any other questions?
Yeah. Yeah, I have one. So are a lot of your students playing around New Orleans?
A lot of our students are playing around the world. I went to Ascona. He was there, and half his big band had NOCCA students in it. Everywhere I travel, every major festival, you're gonna find somebody from that school in one of the bands. Or if not
Most of the
main
New
one.
Orleans music community is made up of NOCCA alum. And even outside of music, we have visual arts, we have writers, we have a lot of different types of artists. But musically speaking, we are all over the place. There's not a place in the world that you can go that we are not, whether you realize it or not. Mike just mentioned that a NOCCA alum is teaching at running the department at the LaGuardia School of the Arts. I didn't even know that. But we're all over the place. We have alum like Courtney Bryan, who's writing symphony orchestras. She travels the world writing symphonies for orchestras, and she's a resident artist. We mentioned the obvious people, but all of the Marcelluses went to NOCCA. Terrence Blanchard went to NOCCA. Donald Harrison, Nicholas Payton, we all went to NOCCA, and then we left and made our impact around the world. But we have actors, Anthony Mackie, the new Captain America, he's NOCCA alum. Wendell Pierce, the great actor. So there's so many of us out there. But yeah, next time you see somebody, you may be traveling and you may think they're from New Orleans or have a connection, ask them if they went to NOCCA. And 9 times out of 10, they probably have.
That's a nice legacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll take one more and then we'll close out. Anybody else?
Ooh, in the back.
You
Final
guys are a
question.
Great audience. You have great questions.
The pressure's on for the final question.
Hi. I'm a NOCCA alum, and I play French horn. I was wondering, what's your advice on networking and branching out there more, especially as an artist?
Advice on networking? I'm sorry.
On networking and branching out more audiences, like in different places.
Sure. Are you a performer or?
Yes, I am. I'm a French horn soloist.
He's a what?
I'm a French horn soloist.
French horn soloist. I got you.
Right, so let me help. This is Maxwell Arsenault. He's a class
yeah.
of 2018. He's a French horn soloist. He's trying to be shy back here. He's just wondering, branching out as one of the newer NOCCA alums, not with 10, 20, 30 years of experience and getting into the professional career, what are some advice for the new alum that are trying to break out into major, broad opportunities?
I think you should stay in contact, or make contact with all of the NOCCA's alumni, your friends, anybody you talk to about the school. They'll tell you, oh, well, so and so went, so and so. I have his number. You call him and tell him what you're doing and what you're trying to develop. And this is a community. Everybody reaches out and try to help in some way. So I think that's the first thing. Reach out to your friends, that's graduates, and I think they'll they'll connect you with people that they know of they're connected with. That's the way it happened for me. Most of my gigs came by recommendation from my friends. Every one of them. The
I would
major
agree
gigs
with
that
that.
I did, yeah.
I would agree with that. But Maxwell, you play quite a few instruments too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And where did you go to school? Did you just finish school a few years ago?
Oh, yeah. I finished getting my master's in at Shenandoah Conservatory.
He just
Okay.
got his master's.
Okay, awesome. No, I definitely agree with my uncle, but I would like to hear Mike speak on this a little bit.
About the networking?
Yeah.
I mean, the music business is, it's a tough business. I notice, at our age, like Chris and I always talk about, we're about the same age, and we really can't compare our personal experience to what's happening now. A lot of the young people are involved with computer-based music. They're doing like a lot of different things. Like one of our younger colleagues at school said, young people nowadays do a lot of different things. So you got to play a lot of different styles of music, and you have to branch out. Like I say, a lot of people are making beats and creating, trying to write, pop songs, or they're involved with many different styles of music. One of our best pianists is a young man named Shea Pierre, and he consults people on crypto. And I said, not at my age, Shea. I don't think so. But I mean, that was a little side venture of his. So I'm often surprised, and like I said, we can't think about it in our day. Like we would get gigs at hotels for months at a time, and people would work on Bourbon Street. People still do those things, but it's different. But we also see kids get into the higher level of the music business a lot quicker than we did or would expect.
Become a band leader and develop your own group. That way you can shape the music that you want to play and present it. For me, I've been a sideman most of my life. The last couple of years, I became my own as an artist. Everybody knew me from being a sideman, but now I'm stepping on the front line, and it's making a difference in what I do, and my music is being heard, and I'm controlling the direction of the music because it's my music versus having to play music that somebody hired me to play. My suggestion is start your own band with your instrument. It's a unique instrument, and do some unique things with it.
Well, thank you. Thank you all so much. Please, let's put our hands together for our musicians. Michael Palera on piano, Adonis Rose on drums, and Chris Severin on bass. There's wine and champagne out in the front. Feel free to scan a QR code to support the NOCCA Foundation and get some information about the school. Have a wonderful afternoon.